Hello my friends and welcome back. It's Monday. Happy Monday to you. Definitely gonna be happy Monday for me because Swedish troops and Canadian troops both have their joint brigade, international brigade, now stationed in Latvia, Estonia's southern neighbor, one of the Baltic states. I'm so glad to see this, knowing that in the Baltics, the first forefront before the evil empire, before the Russian border, there are Western troops always stationed here. Also, there is a Western brigade always present in Lithuania. They built out an entire military base, you would call it. And in Estonia, there are also foreign troops always present. So if people say, oh, Russia is going to steamroll the Baltics, well, they have to steamroll the Western troops with their Western equipment. Also, that's not going to be that easy. And looking at the video, I'm so glad to see this. I'm so glad to see these guys on Estonian soil. Very nice, I would say. All of them walking in. Welcome, my Nordic brothers, welcome. I'm so glad to see. It makes me feel safer. We're actually talking about 550 troops. Talking about the Western NATO's military aid being ramped up, or military presence being ramped up right before the new Iron Curtain. We're also talking about Norwegian NASAMS 3 battery recently deployed to Poland's Rehi airports. And I'm sorry if I'm butchering this, because Polish language, you cannot really speak it without butchering every last word. Rehi. Anyway, Rehi is the logistical super hub of Ukrainian aid from the west to Ukraine. Almost everything, like 80–90% Western aid goes through that logistical superhighway. So of course it is defended by Western air defense systems. The battery was deployed in Poland to defend NATO's critical lifeline into Ukraine from Russian cruise missiles, drones and other air threats. Now every time I show a photo of this, any kind of this photo, people say, oh, why are you showing the locations of Western air defense? My friends, this is no secret. Russians do have military satellites, although not as clear as NATO satellites. They do see this. Russians know exactly where Western air defense systems are in Poland. It's not a secret, so me showing this has no effect whatsoever. Just a cool visual. And I have seen, not these NASAMS, they are new, but I've seen Patriot batteries in Rehi with my own eyes. We're almost every time driving by it when we go to Ukraine, and one of the time I looked outside a window and this is exactly what I saw. Only these were not NASAMS, they were Patriots. And continuing with the Western military presence being ramped up, I mean, I said it's a good Monday for me because I love to see it. This is everything Estonians ever wanted ever since the fall of the Soviet Union. This is everything we have been pushing in the EU and in NATO. Unfortunately, nobody listens, but now they have. France and Poland have joined NATO's Operation Baltic Sentry, a large NATO deployment into the Gulf of Finland to protect undersea cables and other infrastructure from Russian saboteurs. Seen here, footage from French Navy BR-1150 Atlantic 2 patrolling over the Baltic, and it's beautiful to see. And the ship you see here is Polish. So now the countries joining Baltic Sentry are countries even outside of the Baltic Sea presence, NATO lake presence. We're talking France. So it's a very multinational military force patrolling NATO lake, and this is the lake through which Russia can supply Kaliningrad. It's their only option to supply Kaliningrad, you know, their little freakish enclave in the middle of NATO. Because they cannot fly over Poland and Lithuania anymore. They gotta use the very small international water strip going from the Finnish Gulf to the Kaliningrad Oblast. Well, now Baltic Sentry makes sure every last vessel of Russian that moves through Finnish Gulf is followed, filmed, watched all the time. I'm glad to see it. My friends, when I do research for these Ukrainian updates, I gotta be fast and efficient because I research in the morning, then I film, and then the edit takes hours and it gotta be uploaded for the same evening. So, this is why I use Ground News, #1 news comparison site in the world. See, I am on Ground News. I have 2 topics here only, Ukraine and Ukraine war. I click apply changes and I will only see those topics and news, nothing else. Looking through those news, I found Ukraine launches a new counteroffensive in Russia's Kursk region. Let's see what ground news offers me as their tools to compare news and fact check. First of all, 363 articles. I mean, this is a very popular topic. Also, right, center and left, all of them, all of the leaning, right, leaning, left, center, they all use different wording in the titles, different wording in the article texts. If you learn how to distinguish between the wordings and recognize where they're from, you know the agenda and you think more independently. And it's even more visually clear here on the right. I mean, you can see the chart bias distribution. Right, center, and left. Just below that we have factuality, 70% high factuality. You gotta keep it high, I mean, you don't want trash in your head. There's also an ownership tab which actually says, I mean, who owns the media house, they have an agenda. So if you know who owns it, you know their agenda. And of course everybody's favorite is and should be the 13% independent news. There's so much disinformation online right now. It's one of Russia's biggest export into the world, into the free world. So ground news helps me to shift through that. They have a wonderful offer for you also. Just go to ground.news/Artur or scan this QR code on the screen to get their unlimited access Vantage plan for just $5 a month. Thank you, Ground News, for sponsoring today's video. My friends, today, the big day. Trump is going to be inaugurated as the United States president. Now this is like, I'm shooting this in the morning, so I don't have yet footage of the inauguration or nothing, but I do have footage of the pre-inauguration Trump rally one day before. And I'm not going to show you the entire footage, but I'm going to read you the summary of what Trump said, because we now must take him very seriously, because he's going to be one of the most influential men on the planet. And this is what he said one day before the inauguration. He announced that all of Biden's stupid orders will be cancelled within a day. Documents on the assassination of the 35th US President John F. Kennedy, as well as Martin Luther King, will be declassified. By the evening of January 20th, the invasion of illegal migrants across the southern border of the country will end. On Monday, presidential decrees will appear that make everyone very happy. The American military will be tasked with creating an Iron Dome missile defense system to defend the United States. Elon Musk will head the efficiency department. Trump also said that the US needs to protect geniuses because there are not so many of them. And TikTok will be returned to the US. These are the main points out of Trump rally, out of his own words. And there are many, many things I want to open up here because, I don't know how I feel about all of that. Well, let's take TikTok. January 19th, the beginning of the day, TikTok ceased its operations in the US. Yes, for one day. Actually, to be sure, for 12 hours only. TikTok, people who went to TikTok saw this message, and I'll read to you. Sorry, TikTok isn't available right now. A law banning TikTok has been enacted in the US. Unfortunately, that means you can't use TikTok for now. We're fortunate that President Trump has indicated that he will work with us on a solution to reinstate TikTok once he takes office. Please stay tuned. So this was 19th of January. And already, I mean, how long do we have to wait? Already 12 hours later. Around 12 hours after shutting itself down in the US, TikTok is back for many users, almost like it never left, attributing its return to a move by President-elect Donald Trump to save the app. TikTok welcomed users back with a notification that said, "Thanks for your patience and support. As a result of President Trump's efforts, TikTok is back in the US." I would really like to know how you feel about it. I know how I feel about it. I can say it, I'm against TikTok and its data collecting. Take it from Jake, bro, don't take it from me. TikTok is banned in China. This is a Chinese company that won't let anyone in China use it because they know how harmful it is. And it is. I mean, there have been many researchers about TikTok's algorithm, which is designed by the Chinese, whoever do this in China. It's designed to hurt the Western younger audiences. It changes your brain. I've been to TikTok. I mean, I don't have the app, but I know what's going on there. Damn. It gives you a headache if you go into that app. It's not like Instagram, it's not like YouTube Shorts where you scroll. TikTok is on steroids. It rewires your brain. It is definitely harmful for the youth. I know I sound like a boomer right now, but I agree with the boomers on this one. This is a bad app. Americans getting upset. They are about to lose their preferred Chinese spying and propaganda platform, are clueless. Switch to literally any other platform to get your dance and reaction videos that isn't owned by Chinese Communist Party. Now this is the most important. Yeah, there are many apps out there. Go to Instagram. I mean, go scroll there if you want your brain to rot. But TikTok literally shares its data with the Communist Party of China, and 170 million Americans are using it. By the way, most of the youth is using it. So the Communist Party of China has a direct access to data and scrolling patterns of like 13, 14-year-old Americans. And with what videos they feed into those kids, into the brains, they can influence the thought patterns, the thinking patterns, analytical patterns, and plant ideas. I know it sounds like a folium hat talk, but algorithms can do a lot with your kids like that. Check it out. I read the legal opinion. Here's what you should know. It's like the fastest summary on TikTok in America. TikTok lost almost every single argument it made. This is a 9-0 ruling. That sends a resounding message. TikTok's data collection practices are insane. The app gathers data that other apps normally consider off limits, including the content of users' private messages and the full contents of users' device contacts. So if you have a kid or a grandkid who has a phone and contacts on his phone and photos, and she or he has TikTok, know that all of these contacts, including you, who you are in a list of their contacts, are now in the possession of Chinese Communist Party if they wanted to. It's the last part that concerned the SCOTUS justices the most. If you have an email contact who has a TikTok account, China has your name, email, and possibly your phone number, photo, and more. I mean, we're talking about GPS coordinates of your home address. It's insane what they gather. They gather everything physically possible. Chinese law requires its social media companies, including TikTok and its parent company ByteDance, to assist or cooperate with the Chinese government intelligence work and to ensure that the Chinese government has the power to access and control private data. Congress and the FBI worry that this info and more could be used for espionage or to compile blackmail dossiers on elected officials or government employees. All 9 SCOTUS justices agreed that they need to prevent espionage, overrules any First Amendment concerns. And I love the last one. You should have stopped watching those stupid dancing videos months ago. I will end this subject with my personal opinion. TikTok is a brain rot app. It will destroy your brain and your kids' brains. It will spy on your kid and on you because you're connected to your kid through your phone. They will know everything about you, your home address, what your kid likes to watch at evening, at morning. This is how they can analyze the brain and its scrolling patterns, which give an access to behavior patterns of a person. And if they know that, they can know a lot more from that. I mean, it's a very dangerous app. And the last topic connected to the US before we move on, night visions. I love it. Before I read you to the text, I'm going to look at these photos. I've seen, we have a few companies in Estonia who make night visions. I've seen with my own eyes through a night vision like that. Of course, we cannot make anything close to the US, but we have the second-gen night visions made in the EU, which are similar but not as good, and this is amazing. I've seen it at night. You see almost as clearly as day, and it's a night/thermal vision combined. You can make it into a sight on your gun also. It's fantastic. New images from US supplied ANPSQ-42 ENVGB night vision devices in Ukrainian Special Operations Services. The units, which only entered the US service 6 years ago, Give Ukrainian operators a highly capable hybrid thermal night vision capability. It is. If you have this and the enemy doesn't, I mean, it's truly a force multiplier. They're very expensive and you will win, the enemy will lose if that's the case. I do have to say, these devices are very rare in the Ukrainian army. Second-gen night vision is more common, but still very rare. Night capabilities are very, very rare on both armies. Mostly only special forces have them. Now, my friends, a little bit, you know what makes my Monday even better? Not about the Swedish troops being deployed to Latvia, but the fact that Putin has given personally 2 deadlines to take back the Kursk area controlled by the Ukrainians. First of all, it was October 1st. Putin said that the occupied area in Kursk Oblast will be recaptured by October 1st, 2024. Well, did it happen? Oh, no, it didn't happen. Well, then he said a new date. By the inauguration of Donald Trump, January 20th, Kursk, controlled by Ukraine, will be taken back. Well, less than 24 hours remain until the so-called liberation of Kursk region as proclaimed by the Kremlin butcher Putin. Yet the Russians are still panicking about reports of the Ukrainians forming a strike group near Sudzha, allegedly consisting of no less than 3 BTGs. Whoever wrote this, Ukrainians don't use BTGs, Russians do. Battalion Tactical Group, even Russians don't use them anymore. Well, the point is, no, they're not gonna liberate Kursk by January 20th, because today is January 20th and they haven't done it. And I find that funny and entertaining. Now let's get serious. I want to talk about Russian last mile logistics on the front. Because, you know, Russians are infamous for their rail logistics. Their army works because of rail logistics. And this is why they want these, you know, Bakhmut, Avdiivka, now Bakrovsk, because they're rail-connected logistical supply hubs. If they take these, they will immediately put the rail lines to use. How do we know this? Because let's look at what they have done. Fueling the Russian offensive in Bakrovsk, using Sentinel-1 data from May 24 to January 25, we can see that Russians went to work immediately after the capture of Ocheretine and quickly got the rail yard operational along with Avdiivka, and Russian railways, just like the Tsar train, have been dumping supplies by kicking rail cars with the switchers, and the last mile logistics for the Russian forces is about 15 miles versus Ukrainian forces, which had trains going into Bakrovsk till December 24, and now their last mile logistics is 50 plus miles. So, last mile logistics is the one that, you know, the last movement path from previous logistics supply to the front line. Usually it's done by trucks in any army nowadays. In Russian sense, it's done by rail. Have you seen it ever in your life? Last mile logistics of the front line done by rail, and you can just see it here. Avdiivka to Ocheretine, which is very close to front line. It's like a few clicks only, done by rail. At night only though. So this is why Russians want to capture everything connected to railroad, because they will immediately repair the railroads, put them to use, and start pushing supplies with the rail. Now, another question is, why hasn't Ukraine bombarded it? I have no answer to it, maybe you do, but this is working. Avdiivka to Ocheretine, the rail line, rail cars, they are going back and forth with ammunition, food, mines, drones, everything. This is the Russian frontline supply, a lifeline, and it works. Why? Why does it work now? Why not destroy it? I will leave you to answer that question for me. Now, my friends, we will go into Russia. Yes. In every video, I want to give you a snippet of what Russia really looks like, because a lot of people think Russia looks like dancing girls with Russian traditional outfits and Moscow subway stations with beautiful painted ceilings. No, this is what Russia looks like. Norilsk. This is Norilsk. People live here. This is no isolated apartment building. All of Russia looks like that. See, people live here. There are lights in the houses. Now let's go to Stary Oskol, Russia. Trash everywhere. You might think this is an abandoned area, but no, these are very actively used and lived in areas. There's a trash problem in Russia, you know. Because trash companies, you know, they're one of the first companies in the West also, and in the mafia times, the mafia controlled the trash companies. Well, in Russia, it never ended. They still do control the trash companies, and they just don't clean the trash. They just don't do it. They take the money from the state because they, you know, they get the contracts because they're Putin's friends. But the trash processing and transportation, it just doesn't work. Trash is everywhere. Let's look at this one, for example. This is a regular Russian village, you know, a straight road, and on the two sides there are houses. Western village type is many several streets and like a cluster, right? In Russian and also in Ukrainian there are like these row villages. I don't know how you call them in English. One road, houses on both sides, they go in length for a long time. They're different than in the Western village culture, they form differently. And this is a typical Russian road village. This is how it looks like. Just go and zoom in Google Earth anywhere in Russia. Go take a street view and you can see for yourself. I'm having quite a lot of fun in doing that sometimes. Now, let's look at some interviews, very quick ones, with ordinary Russians who are not to blame for the invasion because they are just victims of Putin. Why should civilized Europe and USA must not let in ordinary Russians? Because a lot of chances that they are that these ordinary innocent Russians then be part of Russian propaganda machine controlled by the Kremlin agencies. For example, meet Lyuba Sivaya. Lyuba moved from Krasnoyarsk in her 18 to Spain to get her study in university. Then she became a right-wing blogger about life in Spain. And soon after full-scale Russian attack on Ukraine, Lyuba accidentally forgets about Spain politics and became the main mouthpiece of the Kremlin's propaganda in Spain. This creature was one of those propagandists who came to film Russian propaganda about the liberation of Mariupol from the Nazis, with a joyful grin against the backdrop of burned houses of my hometown, and we're talking about Maxim Borodin. Well, yeah, I do agree with it. Russians who are the victims of the regime and want to go to the West, yeah, there are people who actually want to get rid of that, but most of them want to live a good life in the West while enabling and loving the hell out of Putin. I've seen it with my own eyes. Them living in the West means that life is just so much better in the West, but mentally they want to be part of the empire, the Russian Empire. For example, let's watch this innocent grandmother and what she has to say in Russia. I just don't remember it. It's in my blood. Russian soldier always fights for his motherland. For the truth and freedom. The question is weird. Give me the next one. The question is like, he's like, hey, why are you asking me such weird questions? What do you mean by the truth? The truth is we fight fascism, and those who we didn't finish in 45. Do you mean Ukrainian regime? I do. The Ukrainian regime that is a threat not only to us, but also to the whole world. Hey, I don't feel threatened by the Ukrainian regime, should I? Maybe they send their weaponized mosquitoes and pigeons to us also. Oh, damn, maybe I should be afraid. Why do people die there? That's because of their president, Zelensky. A moron and Jew, oh my god. I will stop it right here. That's it. I gave you a taste of what regularly, ordinary, innocent Russians think in Russia about Zelensky or Ukrainians. But we will continue on the Russian topic, by the way, because, I mean, most of us don't fathom how big Russia really is. This orange spot on the map is approximately what constitutes Siberia. The region Russia began colonizing back in 1581. In today's Siberia, the descendants of colonizers are getting worried about the war with Ukraine. Apparently, it took them about, almost 3 years to come to this. You know why? Because Ukrainians have developed their own long-range drone capabilities and missile capabilities, which are not connected to any Western restrictions, and now they can't hit far eastern Russian targets. And suddenly this, Far Eastern people of Russia, the Siberians or any other people living here are suddenly worried about the war with Ukraine. Well, there lies your answer. Ukrainians just need to bombard the hell out of that area so the Russians actually know what their country is doing. Russia's size is its advantage. Russians know it very well. The Siberians interviewed by Russian paper were sure they were unreachable. That is, until Ukraine started attacking Russia with drones. Ukrainian drones reached at least 25 regions. So even Siberia started to worry. Well, good, let them worry. And now, my friends, I want to give you an eerie reminder of who Putin really is, because we have it all on video. In 1999, Putin stood over Moscow's bombed ruins and said, well, let's see what it says. By the way, I'll remind you, he was the one ordering the bombing of these apartment buildings as a justification to go to war with Chechnya for the second time. Does the end justify the means? Is this the goal, right? The goal, does it justify the goal of a terrorist? Yes. Well, possibly it's wrong. A sane person, I don't think, could ever make such a decision. He made that decision. This is the birth of psychopath. He made the decision to order the bombing of these apartments, and now he stands over the ruins and the families, next to the families who are mourning, and says this. To blow up a building with living people inside. Look at these eyes, look at the face of a killer. And this guy is still leading Russia. This is the guy who Schultz wants to make a deal with, or whoever wants to appease him, Orban or Fico, want to make a deal with this guy. Innocent people at night. Absolutely unimaginable. This guy thinks it's absolutely unimaginable to do this to people. Now, my friends, I want to give you something juicy. I mean, when I was enjoying my weekend and resting, Ukraine actually had a lot of fun with the Russian oil refineries and oil depots. At one point, there were 4 oil depots on fire at the same time. I mean, this is insane. At the same time. Look at this map. This is one of the most beautiful maps I've ever seen. Just burning at the same, like this is a fire fest in Russia. All of these Russians can go and have a sausage party and fry their sausages on the stick with the oil fires. It's a nice gift to the Russian people, a gift of warmth. Look at it. Lyudinovo, Kaluga region, Engels, Sabouteurs region, Liski, Voronezh region, and there was one more actually. Yeah, I don't have the name of the last one. But at the same time, 4 beautiful fires. And what is the process of actually attacking these? Because most of these refineries have gotten attacked like 10 times already. Well, here's the explanation. Look, this is a satellite photo. This is the Engels oil depot. The fire was extinguished as a result of 2 strikes. We have up to 8 burned out fuel lubricant tanks. This is approximately 14% of all of tanks. So yeah, 8 of these burned with 2 attacks. So Ukraine will hit it again. Another 4 will burn, and again, and again, and again. It's a methodical, slow, and maybe for you a rather boring process, but it takes a few years of this kind of work, and you will push Russia back 50 years, because this is not easy to rebuild. But it doesn't destroy an oil depot with 1 strike. It takes many strikes. The more tanks or refining towers or whatever is there, it's you gotta focus on it methodically. My friends, a video of Ukrainian recon drone. It took the video of another Russian assault, and this was strange because in this one you could see down below Russians advancing on the field. There were soldiers on crutches advancing on Ukrainian positions who were shooting at them, and there were drones up above dropping grenades. Russian assault troops on crutches. So this means this guy was, unable to walk, otherwise he wouldn't need crutches. He was possibly in a hospital. He was beaten out of the hospital. We have a video of that also. Can I show it to you? Sent to the assault group, sent to the front, and sent to charge on crutches. So the only goal, he cannot even carry a weapon. The only goal of this kind of a man for Russians is to waste as much Ukrainian ammunition as possible. And Ukrainians dropped a nade on him and boom, he's gone. He wasted 1 nade. And that's the goal. That's the worth or value of your life. If you get wounded, you got wounded because you got hit with something. You wasted one ammunition, whatever it was. Now you can go back with crutches and waste another ammunition. And this time this was the end. But yeah, the goal of a man in Russia is to soak up shrapnel so Ukraine couldn't produce enough to take them out. Now let's look at another type of Russian assault unit role. Again, I'll describe the video to you. There's a Ukrainian recon drone over a city, and the Russian soldier down below is running, very aggressively running. He's filled with all kind of different bags and gear and everything, but he doesn't have a weapon. He's in no man's land under Ukrainian fire. He's running around without a weapon. Not to surrender, no. He's carrying ammunition, mines, even drones, and he's carrying that to a certain point or area as close to the Ukrainian defensive positions as possible. He will be killed, for sure. They always will. This kind of role is called the camel on the Russian front line. They will not be given a weapon. They just run and deliver ammunition as close to the front as possible with their bodies. They will die there. And then the next assault group who comes, they have ammunition ready in a certain position. They can take it there and advance. That's how it works. It's all a meat assault, different roles of meat assault. A camel, a soldier on a crutches, they're all part of it. We have tens and tens of these videos. This is inside Russia. Unknown saboteurs burned down communication towers near Krasnodar. On the night of January 17th, the resistance movement to the Putin regime destroys 2 communication towers near Krasnodar, setting them on fire. And the video is beautiful. Just the guy with a 5-liter barrel of gasoline folds it all over, throws it all over the communication tower foundation, just sets it on fire. GUR, the Ukrainian military intelligence, foreign intelligence, also has a network of people in Russia who just do this. They don't even have to pay them because there are people in Russia who want the regime to change. They will do it because they believe in it. And this is a rotting foundation of Russia as a country. They're not united. They have a lot of people who want the regime to change and they're willing to just burn whatever needs to be burned. I will not show you a lot of the videos because they will get very repetitive, but I just want to make sure you know that this exists all the time, every day, every minute. Something burns in Russia that takes days, months, or sometimes years to build back up. Now, my friends, I don't know if you're a fan or not. A lot of people in the EU still are. I am not. This war is a legacy of Angela Merkel. This is what I believe. This is how Estonians feel, because we have always said almost the quite opposite of what Merkel was doing, opening up gas pipelines with Russia, blocking Ukrainian NATO membership because she was afraid of Putin, wanted to appease Putin. We were screaming against that here in the Baltics, and unfortunately we were not listened to. Former German Chancellor Merkel said that without US and NATO membership, Ukraine was unlikely to be able to maintain its independence. Merkel has previously written in her memoirs that she had deliberately delayed Ukraine's NATO accession out of fear for Putin. Now, fear is one of Russia's greatest exports and weapons. They export it to the United States and to the EU, and unfortunately it works on the leaders of the EU. I mean, Merkel was the leader of the most powerful EU country economically back then, and she was afraid of Putin, and she made decisions based on that fear. If you are afraid, you choose to be afraid, you choose to give that card to Putin, because he will weaponize it against you. And this is how we're in the situation like this. This geopolitical situation right now and the Ukrainian war is a legacy of Angela Merkel. Now, my friends, I want to show you a photo. No, this is not Photoshop or fake. This is a real photo. Photo of Schultz and Baerbock squirrel over money for Ukraine has become a meme. German Chancellor Olaf Schultz has vetoed the new 3 billion euros of financial aid package for Ukraine, sparking outrage from Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock. Annalena Baerbock is very, very pro-Ukraine, supporting their fight for independence. Schultz, you know what Schultz is, a man without balls. Baerbock demonstratively walked out of the government meeting following Schultz's decision. The Chancellor tried to stop his minister, but to no avail. Look at that. I have no respect to Schultz at all, no respect. He's a man who is just fully controlled by his fears and has no strength to take responsibility and no strength to change. We need to change. The geopolitical situation in the world is different than 3 years ago. Schultz has not gotten the memo. But look at these photos. I mean, this is great. I will just scroll down. Give me my balls back. You never had any. And of course, this is what it is, yeah. Schultz needs to go. Germany needs a strong leader who is not overtaken by fear. And now, my friends, for the first time in this week, I'm having a great Monday, so I will have a great Monday butchering Buy Me a Coffee monthly members. Let's go. Jakson Lega. Yeah, you legendary, man. I've said your name many times. I'm glad you're back. Emanuel Klempa. Alan Brandyberry. And finally, the legendary Someona. Thank you to these 4 people. If you like my channel and you want to support it, Buy Me a Coffee monthly membership, the best way to do so. Link is in the description below. Until my next video, my friends, which will be on Wednesday, so be sure to be back. Slava Ukraini, and bye-bye.
Kui mina ükskord noore seas võtsin vana naise, kui mina ükskord noore seas võtsin vana naise, siis tema kurat kiusas mind ühest päevast teise, siis tema kurat kiusas mind ühest päevast teise. Läksin surnuaiale, palusin seal surma, läksin surnuaiale, palusin seal surma. Tule surma, päästa mind, vii mu naine hauda, tule surma, päästa mind, vii mu naine hauda. Läksin koju tagasi, naine oli surnud, läksin koju tagasi, naine oli surnud, surmaingel oli ta oma kaasaks viinud, surmaingel oli ta oma kaasaks viinud.